Down, Petco Park, a new beginning, let's go. Started back rocking the brown. Ever since we've been knocking them down. Baby said she wanna go to the game. Taught her how to say Padre gang. Started back rocking the brown. Ever since we've been knocking them down. Mitchell and Ness with the old school name. All of the homies holler Padre gang. Yeah, that.
And good day, everybody. Welcome on in. Episode 148 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden, your host. We got Hog here, special guest today, to talk about this Giants Padres series that's going on, that just finished, and to preview that Braves series. There was a lot going on in baseball, a lot going on with the Padres. Hog, thanks so much for doing this.
Ben, thanks for having me on the show, man. You're doing awesome things in the community. We all have an eye on you, and very excited to talk shop with you about our Padres. A little bit of a lackluster end to this series, but lots to digest nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Just get some people in here real quick. Love is everything. What's up? All right. So first off, we'll just go kind of through the series here. Starting with game 1, game 2, game 3. And then obviously the Braves series starting tomorrow, which a lot of fans are probably excited about, heading out to Petco. But with the Giants, this series, I had expectations that they could win the series. I thought that this was a measuring stick. I think the Braves will be more of a measuring stick because it's a better team. But starting off with game 1, it was really interesting. I mean, Padres obviously got this win 4-2, and that was their 4th straight win after losing on opening day. And Nola hit a solo homer. Nick Martinez started that game, went 5 innings, gave up 1 run, walked only 1 guy. He was really solid. Your guy, Steven Wilson, was really good as well. He did have a wild pitch, but he's been pretty solid. Martinez, awesome today. Yeah. Martinez got out of some jams. He struck out the side in the 4th on, I think, 12 pitches. The changeup, the cutter were working well. So first off, we can start with our impressions on Martinez so far. I mean, I had the opinion that this was an overpay, especially considering that Preller gave him $5.5 million more post-lockout than what it was pre-lockout. But right now it's looking pretty good. So what are your thoughts on what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if it's an overpay. I just think the language of the contract doesn't give the team any leverage at all, right? Because if Nick Martinez has a bad year, he's just going to opt in his player option. I think every year it's a player option for Nick Martinez in that 4 or 5. Is it a 4-year deal, right? So every year it's a player option. So it gives him leverage. If he has a great year, he's just going to opt out and get more money from another team. If he has a bad year, he's just going to opt in. They're kind of hoping he falls in that little middle place where the only chances of the contract works out. So I don't think it was a smart language of the contract. But I mean, you look at him in the first game of the series, it's not only the changeup that was devastating. The cutter looked good. He was jamming hitters. He's cutter, changeup. And listen, he got out of jams, but good pitchers do. They get out of jams. And Nick Martinez it was pleasantly surprising, Ben. For somebody who's going to be in the, quote, back end of your rotation, you're seeing why now A.J. Preller had to make every single move in the starting rotation, because we are already now with lackluster depth with, Clevenger and Snell dealing with those situations. But I thought Nick Martinez wasn't an issue at all. I mean, if he gives us that kind of production, I'm not expecting that kind of production, but if he gives us 5 innings, 1, 2, even 3-run ball through 5, it's a home run signing.
Yeah, and you mentioned the contract. It's definitely a player contract, but right now as fans, we got to hope that he pitches really well because we're trying to win this year, obviously.
No doubt.
And so you can't worry if he opts out. If he opts out, okay, well, then that's another – you can fill that. I mean, you still have Gore coming up. You have Weather still here. There's other options. A Musgrove extension hopefully happens. But there's other options. So right now you got to be worried about him producing right now this year. Talking about, what happened a little bit later in the game, Padres were up 3-2 in the 7th. Darren Ruff robbed by Profar. This play was absolutely amazing.
Got me pumped.
I mean, I was pretty excited in my room watching this game. And this play, I'll show it here for the YouTube audience.
Sure.
It was like, I just couldn't believe that he got to this ball because obviously Stammen, you saw his reaction. You probably thought it was over the fence. And so, I mean, here it is, Darren Ruff. It's just middle, and Profar in the gap somehow gets to it, and that saved the game, obviously.
Did you see that
Padres,
stat, Ben? He ran 100 feet to get to that ball, which is
100 feet.
unbelievable.
Yeah. And, with Profar playing left, wasn't the whole thing was like, okay, we're putting Profar on left, right? Because he's not an outfielder. At Petco, that's probably the least amount of ground that he's going to have to cover. Where here in this play, he covered a whole lot of ground. And so Profar defensively, offensively, he's produced, and that makes Grisham and Myers, their performances worse and look worse than they've probably have been. I know they've been terrible, but when you look around the league, I think there's other guys that are getting off to slow starts as well.
No doubt.
And then I wanted to touch on this umpiring. I don't know if I forget. I mean, try to watch most of your post games, but I forget if you touched on this, how bad the umpiring was in this game. I mean, I had
the whole series, Ben. The whole series.
The whole series, yeah. I had a bunch of here it is. I had a bunch of tweets that came out that I had, and this is just one of them. This was against Myers, and I know Myers has sucked early on, but look at this pitch. That's not a strike, and he called it a strike. There's just so many of these instances. Jay Posner of the Union Tribune, the editor there, he was thinking about putting some screen grabs out there, and I was like, just look at my profile, because I was doing it all night because it was alarming. And we're fortunate that the Padres won that game.
I'm saying the Padres are fortunate they didn't get swept this series, to be honest with you. And I think from that game, we saw the umpiring accuracy rate was 91%, which is pretty low. You're trying to look at somewhere around 98% for a good outing from an ump, except Doug Eddings, who has a little bit of a lower bar. But, I mean, yeah, it sucks. I think, to be fair, I think that game was a little bit against the Padres, but I think it was bad umpiring overall, but I thought it was bad umpiring both ways throughout the series. But I mean, listen, we can be nitpicky with it. It sucks nonetheless, but I don't think that's an excuse. I think we can segue into just did you want to segue into game 2, or did you want?
Yeah, we'll go to game 2 right now. Yeah, we'll go to game 2, the rest of the series, and then some other takeaways. But cool. Yeah, just getting to game 2 here. Obviously, not a whole lot here in terms of Padres production. 13-2, got smacked. Darvish was not good. It wasn't good from the start. It was pretty much over as it started. Yeah. Gave up 9 runs, technically 8 runs while he was in the game. Just was not sharp. And even the times when he hit his spots, there were bloopers that, fell into left field. And so just nothing was going right. I want to kind of not take too much into it because the Arizona start, he was great. I know it's 2 different offenses, but that was
concerned with you? You concerned with you, Ben?
A little bit, but it's early in the season, and he still looks pretty good. It's not like, I'll say this. He was hitting some of his spots. I know a lot of it wasn't great, but I still want to look more on the optimistic side right now. And the conditions in San Francisco, they were not great at all. I don't want to use that as an excuse because Alex Cobb looked like Cy Young or Tom Seaver out there.
My God. The movement from Alex Cobb was something that I've never seen anything. I mean, I know the Giants have a great pitching program, whatever the heck they do. They have 13 coaches. I think 1 for each pitcher. But, I mean, Alex Cobb, it wasn't just the 96 that I haven't seen from him in like a decade. It was the movement on his pitches. I mean, used velocity was down, hovering around 92, 93 with a lack of movement. I was talking to an agent the other day, Ben, and what they were saying is velocity is not that important. Well, it's very important, but the difference between AA and the major leagues is not that they throw 100. It's the 100 with movement, right? It's the movement that is the major difference in major leagues, which is kind of why CJ's struggling, not to digress. But I think with you, Darvish, it's hard not to be concerned because even dating back to last year and even dating to the Arizona game, right? The no-hit start, he wasn't getting a lot of swings and misses. He doesn't have the punch-out pitches that he once had at the beginning of 2021. And I think we've had a good enough sample size at this point. I haven't taken a deeper look into kind of the RPMs of his pitches to start the year. I heard they were down. I'm talking to a few people. But what I'm more concerned about is the wipeout stuff. If he gets ahead in the count, does he have the pitch to actually get the swing and a misses versus just getting in tough battles, fouling out pitches? Because you even saw that in Arizona. He only had 3 strikeouts. So that's a little bit of concern with me for Darvish.
Yeah, in spring training, he was getting more of the swing and miss stuff, but obviously that's spring training, so you don't want to put too much into that either. I guess the whole thing in here is it is early in the season, so I don't want to put too much into it. But at the same time, when the first time out there, you face a division rival and a Giants team that could contend for a playoff spot this year, and you S the bed, to be quite honest.
Yeah,
it's definitely not encouraging, but I don't want to totally overreact. Just getting more into this, obviously the big headlines in this game were, well, before the game was Gore, and we'll get to that, but during the game, obviously what happened with Mike Schildt and, the Giants base coach, kind of, it seemed like taking out of proportion what Mike Schildt said. And on ESPN today, the whole, storylines and all that, for people that didn't click on the article, it just wasn't a good look for ESPN and some other, platforms, because they were trying to say that, Schildt was actually had some racial stuff going on saying to him, and that wasn't the case. They both apologized. They hugged it out today, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. But what are your thoughts, I guess, on the coach, the San Francisco coach, actually, saying that to the media before talking with Schildt? That's what it seemed like to me, that they didn't talk beforehand, and he just went to the media and said it instead of getting clarification. Because in my pregame show today, someone in the chat thought that the third base or the third or first base coach, whatever position he is, was taking advantage of the situation, where for me, I think he was just spreading awareness that, hey, look, people that aren't of color, they need to, have awareness of how other people of color see things. I think that's all he was saying.
Yeah. I think it's relationships 101 here. I think whenever there's a disagreement or you're not on the same page, especially if you have people with a platform, and, Major League Baseball assistant coaches may not just, or base coaches may not be known with a massive platform, but you still have a big impact in the community. And I really think, as I said, it's relationships 101. You don't go to the media, you don't go to the public until you get on that same page. And while it was good that they made dues today, the damage was kind of already done, right? And then Mike Schildt kind of had to sweat this one out and kind of, get out of this, and for something that, wasn't even a wrongdoing. So I don't know. I understand the Giants coach did it all out of good faith, right? He is trying to spread awareness. It is a very important time for all communities to be treated equally. That's very important, especially in the current climate of our country. But it's also important to be fair, right? And it's important to kind of handle it in a mature manner. And I don't think it was quite handled in the most mature manner, even though it was in best faith. So it is what it is. Move on. They engaged. We're all good to go. And I don't think it should be a bigger story than it is.
Yeah. I appreciate your comment, JDS Third. Yeah, I like having Hog on. I hope you guys are, appreciating this kind of collaboration here. Both really passionate Padre fans here, me and Hog. So hope you guys are enjoying this. Getting to Austin Adams, he obviously led with forearm tightness. That was not great to see. And then you have Lamet come in, who also has dealt with injuries. So that definitely was some uneasiness that was inside me during that time. But your thoughts on Austin Adams with that forearm tightness? Whenever that happens, that's a red flag for me. And if he's out, I know he wasn't having a huge impact this year to start out. It was, Taylor Rogers, Pierce Johnson, Steven Wilson, but when Austin Adams is on, he's not hitting a million guys and not setting records. He has strikeout stuff.
He does. Yeah, listen, you need, as angry as you may get with Austin Adams, you need every single piece in this bullpen. I mean, look at the significance of that Chris Paddock trade, immediately getting Taylor Rogers. We're relying on him day in and day out. And listen, the lack of bullpen depth, especially with Palmy going to be out, Luis Garcia still rehabbing, it's going to start taxing the team. Remember, we always talked about this on my channel back in April, May. The starters were good in the first half, but they couldn't go deep into games. The bullpen was fantastic, and they were able to hold it down. But again, guys, the season's a marathon. The bullpen can only hold it down for 2 months before they start getting taxed. So if the starters are getting hurt and the bullpen guys are getting hurt, that's a recipe for failure. And you saw that in the collapse last year when we were going to war with Vince Velasquez and Jake Arrieta every fifth day. And you know how that went, right? It was 7-0 after one. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to get that bad this year. We have a lot of great pitching depth, but I don't think this bullpen is as good as a situation as we think it is. And even going into the year, getting Taylor Rogers was great. Getting Pomeranz back in a month or so is going to be great. Probably they're going to get Morahone back, who's going to be kind of a stretch guy in the bullpen. But I still think they need an arm or two to shore up in this bullpen because with Adams going down, it hurts. But you have to assume that there are going to be guys who get hurt in this bullpen. And you're going to also have to assume that some of these guys won't work out. You know, I'm not saying Robert Suarez isn't going to work out. But right now, I mean, your confidence level can't be too high on him. You just DFA'd Javi Guerra. They got the guy from the Angels. We'll see how that goes. But they're kind of nitpicking now, kind of in the bottom rungs of that bullpen. And every big-time team in October and early November, they have prolific, they have stealthy, they have fantastic bullpens. And right now, I don't know if the Padres do.
Yeah, and, you know, with the Austin Adams point, I think Kevin Kopps can come up at some point this year. I had him on my show during the offseason, during the lockout.
I saw that. That's good stuff.
He was saying that his goal is to have a significant impact on this team this year, and I think he can do that. I believe he's in Double-A right now. And so the way things are going, I agree that the bullpen's not looking great. I was on the wrap-up show with John and Jim last night, and they were asking me about the bullpen. And I flat out asked them this, and I'll ask you the same question. Like, who do you trust right now? And that proves your point. Like, right now, for me, it's Pierce Johnson, it's Taylor Rogers, and it's Steven Wilson, to be honest.
I don't trust Pierce. I never have. It's go ahead and I'll get to my point.
No, it's those three, because I'm not going to trust Lamet yet. I'm not trusting Suarez, obviously. Garcia's not even on the roster right now. He's in Lake Elsinore. And so there's just, you know, Tim Hill's more of a matchup guy. Stammen, he's just getting older. And then, you know, that ball was probably gone at Petco. That Profar made a great catch the other night. He hasn't gotten off to a great start, obviously, on opening day, you know, served up that homer to Seth Beer. Yeah. But, yeah, go ahead with your thoughts on the bullpen.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, like, I mean, Pierce got out of that jam in the eighth. But, I mean, for him, his controls always concern me a little bit, especially with his two-seamer. And when it kind of goes south, which it has a lot in the past, he relies heavy on that breaking ball, which I've noticed he hangs it a good bit a lot. I don't have that reassurance when I watch, like, Taylor Rogers. I'm confident, like, okay, this guy's going to shut the door. And if he doesn't, it's a fluke. But with Pierce, I feel like I always have to sweat it out. It's more of a feeling thing for me, right? With anything on your reliance on the bullpen. But Taylor Rogers' number is the number one guy. And I mean, heck, I know Steven Wilson had that wild pitch, but he's looked, this is no bias just because, like, he's come on the channel and I've talked to him a good bit. I mean, today he was dominant, right? I mean, 5 strikeouts, 6 guys, 1-2-3, 1-2-3, worked fast. The slider had bite to it. The fastball was humping up to 96, 97. I know he was talking about developing that third pitch changeup, which he's starting to kind of work in his repertoire a little more. But those are the two guys right now. But again, Ben, I think we have to remember it's been 7 games, right? It's been 7 games. I kind of my decision point of when I want to start analyzing trends is kind of game 20 is when I start, actually noticing, this player's doing this well, not doing this well. It's still so early, right? With CJ Abrams, everyone's hitting the panic button. I think he's had 17 at-bats and he's playing every other day for the most part, which is a big problem for development of young guys, right? You know, we'll get into Gore, but I think it's I think right now for me, it's Steven Wilson and it's Taylor Rogers in the bullpen, which is not much, man. Which is not much.
Yeah. You know, another guy in the bullpen the other night was Wil Myers. Great pace of play there. I mean, that was an amazing moment.
Nice segue.
You know, just pretty much stayed off my bed pretty much. Just watched the game because you felt like that was going to happen, right? You felt like a position player was going to get in there because of how lopsided it was from 10 minutes into the game. I wish the pace of play was like that every game with Will on the mound like that. I mean, today's game was pretty dang quick.
It was more than dang quick. I thought we're going to get a record there, man. I mean, I think that thing ended around 3 and it started at 12:40, 2 hours, 15 minutes. So it was a fast one.
Yeah, and part of it was because the Padres didn't have much, hitting. But getting to Gore, obviously, he was in the locker room the other day on the taxi squad right now. There's reports that he's expected to start Friday. Snell probably going to go on the IL tomorrow. What should we expect out of Gore? You like to call him DeGore. I'm chilling out on that right now. I love what I'm seeing. But what should we expect out of Gore? I think he went, 5 innings, 5 shutout innings, his first minor league start. So I think 5 innings, maybe 6 innings could happen. But again, AAA is a lot different than the Atlanta Braves lineup.
I'm actually going to go a lot lower than you. Look for about 3 innings from Gore on his major league debut. So kind of with these young pitchers and kind of who I've been talking to a good bit of people close to the situation about kind of what they're thinking to do with him. With MacKenzie, the target's like 3-4 innings right now because you want young pitchers, especially top prospects, young starting pitchers, to build off things. So if he has, for example, a 3-inning outing of no run ball, you want to cut it. You want to be done. You want him to build off of that. You don't want to risk any harm in that first outing versus if he has his outing and he has a kind of a roughed up second inning, you want to throw him out there so he can, so he can recover early in his outing. So what I've heard is that they're going to look 3, maybe 4 innings from Gore because you really want to take it slow. You really want to have a small sample size that he can build off of because this game's mental, right? If CJ goes 0 for 4 and he's not playing the next day, he's thinking about those at-bats in the dugout watching a baseball game, right? He's not locked in. But I mean, with MacKenzie, you saw us starting in El Paso against Round Rock. I mean, the slurve looked great. I mean, that slurve looks lethal right now, man. His fastball's hitting 97. Probably look to see him hit 99 a few times in the first inning of his major league debut just because of adrenaline and whatnot. He'll be calmed down. I think, he's going to be caught by Alfaro, who's kind of, when you're a young pitcher like that, it's the catcher taking the lead. It's just up to the pitcher to hit your spots, but it's the catcher kind of taking demand of all the sequencing. And I think they trust Alfaro to kind of be the guy for MacKenzie Gore. Listen, I mean, it's so exciting. I'm coming home from LA tomorrow and I'm just trying to find a good deal for Friday. I have to go to that, right? It would be one of the most anticipated debuts. And I want to go to Petco Park, man. I miss it there. So I'm trying to go on Friday. I know you're in New York and hopefully in the summer you can come out to some games, but it's
I'll be back in the summer. Yep.
Man, I need to go on Friday. I'm going to find a way. And I'm picky. I love sitting in that Toyota Terrace, so I'm trying to get a good deal.
Oh, so you're a bougie guy. Yeah. So
come on, 201, 202, 203. One of my lifelong buddies got 4 season tickets at the Terrace, but he's going with the family that day. But man, I love the Terrace. Board and Brew right next to it too. Get my sandwich. Go to the Terrace, man.
Good segue. This episode sponsored by Gaglione Bros Famous Cheesesteaks and Subs. Visit gaglionebros.com to view their entire menu, their locations, Point Loma, Mission Gorge, and inside Petco Park starting tomorrow.
Oh, what?
Great to say, starting tomorrow. They've obviously been there for years, but multiple locations, gaglionebros.com, view their entire menu, great cheesesteaks and garlic fries to watch Joe Musgrove pitch tomorrow. Getting back to that MacKenzie Gore point, you say, 3-4 innings. My argument to that is if he is already going 5 innings in AAA, then why would you – I understand, building confidence, going 3-4 innings. But if he's already built up to 5, why would you not at least try to have him go 5 if he's pitching well? Because he's already built up to that point. At what point are you sacrificing the bullpen for the rest of the series just because you want Gore to have confidence when he's built up to a certain point, if you get what I'm trying to say there?
No, I do. I just think it's every inning you throw him out there, the risk increases of something bad happening and he having to wait 5 days. It's not like a Robert Suarez situation where he gets blown up. Bob Melvin can try and get him out there immediately. I think the mental development of these young starting pitchers, Ben, is so important, and it's so much more important than we think. I think the mental development and confidence levels and the mental aspect of baseball is so much more important than we think. Like, for example, Ben, what they're doing to CJ Abrams right now is tormenting. It's tough to watch because they're not finding a way to play him every day. And I'm full proponent. I'm not trying to digest from Gore, but I'm a full proponent of sending him down to AAA if he can play every day. They need to play every day. So with someone like Gore who he can't play every day, I just want to see it. And then for start number 2, number 3, you can keep tacking on if it's going well. You just have to take it slow. But I totally understand your point of throwing him out there for 5 but then it gets greedy, right? If he has a good 4th, I want a good 5th. If he has a good 5th, I want a good 6th. So it's just kind of knowing where to stop it. It's his first major league start. And obviously his arm can go 100 pitches, but can his mind, keep progressing? That's really it on my end.
Yeah. I understand where you're coming from. What I would say to that is we do have a previous example with Ryan Weathers. Obviously, and I'm counting it more towards, obviously, in the postseason, he came in, pitched well in 2020. Then in 2021 against the Dodgers, pitched well coming up, and that's his actual rookie year. And so we've had success with that of having young guys not sure if they're like ready, come up, pitch well, and you can't tell me that didn't help the development, going forward. I know that he's now in AAA, and sending him down last year when Jace tried to say that they're trying to save innings when he was throwing innings then, which made no sense. So the development, it's been up and down with him, but that's just that's a recent example of how that has helped the Padres in terms of bringing a guy up and just throwing him out there. And if he has success, I think that helps further along, his development. Getting to Wednesday's game, lost 2-1, third loss of the year.
Man. This one hurt. Oh, yeah. I'm pissed. Padres fans, I'm pissed.
Manaya, he pitched good again. Quality start. 6 innings. Yeah, Sean Diego, 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 4 hits, only walked 2. Didn't give up any home runs. Has a 1.38 ERA, 6 strikeouts. Luke Williams was the only really one that got him, right, with that double. He looks like Khalil Green, by the way.
He does, huh?
Yeah. But Logan Webb, that's part of the reason why. The offense
You see my tweet today, Ben, about Logan Webb?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I'd go more towards, I don't know why, but Buehler. I'd still lean more towards Corbin Burns as well.
Sure.
But that's just my initial reaction there. But I could see Logan Webb. Yeah, I think he has more upside than Rodon, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
But Webb. 8 innings, 86 pitches through 7. Yeah, he was really good. 1 earned run, 4 hits, didn't walk anyone. Again, no walks really helps as well. 7 strikeouts. That's a big part. But at the same time, there were also times where the offense just couldn't produce. In the 9th inning, they got something going, right? Hosmer put together his best at-bat of the season.
Shout out Hos, man.
Yeah. People can hate on him, but he put together a great at-bat there. They were scared to pitch to Profar. I'm running that hashtag now on Twitter, MVP Profar, because, they're scared. They hit him. And then Matt Beatty comes up. I like that because Will's lost at the plate right now, so I like that decision. I was fine with that. But in my mind, right when Beatty barely missed a double that would have gave him the lead because there was the bases loaded there, I knew that they weren't winning. Next pitch strikes out, game over, Padres lose the series. That's just the way it goes, When you're that close, that was the pitch. And
Camilo Duvall's slider is just unbelievable. Like, he's another good arm, they've got in San Francisco. He just pumps up gas and then has a devastating slider. Listen, it's just, the offense is. I know people in my Discord this is like beating the dead horse, just been complaining about the lack of slugging and the lack of offense. We knew that this team wasn't going to slug. We knew they weren't going to at least be in the top 10, top 15 of slugging. When you look at the MLB playoffs last year, there's only one team who was outside the top 10 in slugging that made the postseason. That was the Chicago White Sox. So, if you look at this lineup top to bottom, I think, I tweeted about something, we're hammering Wil Myers, but Trent Grisham for me has been the biggest disappointment so far this year. It's not even Wil Myers. Trent Grisham, he comes off a great 2020, has the Gold Glove, looked really comfortable offensively. The 2021, he looked really strong. Then he had the heel bruise, kind of when his season stopped. This was a make it or break it year, right? The team offered him an extension after 2020, and he turned it down. Thank God for the Padres, it seems like right now. But with Trent Grisham, Ben, he's hitting leadoff, right? Leadoff guys need to set the tone. They need to get on base somehow, some way. And right now, it's not even the 0 for 4s every day. It's the quality of his at-bats, right? He goes down 0-2 all the time. It's a lot of strikeouts. So that's been a big concern for me. I think Jake Cronenworth and Manny are going to be okay. Jake's already heating up, man. Jake is so good. He is so good. Just kind of looking at this lineup top to bottom. Will's been really struggling, but what are you going to do? You're going to play CJ and Wright? Not at Oracle Park. Not at Chase Field. Maybe at Petco they start experimenting with that, right? But I mean, I don't know. For me, Ben, I want to hear your thoughts on Grisham because that's my biggest concern right now. Because not only he's a concern, but Ben, there's nothing they can do about it. There's nothing they can do about it. He is locked in where he's playing, and they just better hope he's good. Because if he's not, he's not. And right now, Jurickson Profar has been the best outfielder for the San Diego Padres. And folks, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, and I bring up this comment here from JDS Third. He's talking about the interview I had with Mad Dog earlier this offseason, and I asked him, I went toe-to-toe with him. He didn't agree with some of the points I had, but he said the Padres needed pitching. And right now, I argued then, and I'll argue now, well, no, they need offense. Pitching is obviously great, but the offense, it needs to be better. It just does. And you make a good point with Grisham, and I'll kind of expand on that with Grisham. I think what I would disagree with is while he is getting down 0-2, I do understand that. But if we're comparing him and Myers, Grisham's having the better at-bats. Myers just looks lost. I mean, earlier today, Mud even said it on the broadcast. There was a pitch down the middle. He was probably expecting fastball, but you're still a major league hitter. It was down the middle, and he just didn't swing. It looked like he wasn't even going to swing.
Even Bob Melvin said in the post game, if Wil was swinging good, it'd be a different story, like a little jab at Wil,
Yeah. And I think with Grisham, I'm more optimistic with him than Myers, obviously. But with the lineup, you mentioned him batting leadoff. What else are they going to do? That would be my question to you right now. CJ, he also looks lost at the plate a little bit.
But maybe you make a switch. Maybe you give it one more shot with CJ and you give him 4 or 5 starts in a row. You have him hitting leadoff and see if that can get him going. If not, you send him down. But that's the risk, right, of calling somebody up prematurely, potentially. I mean, I don't know. It's still very early, but I think the biggest thing, Ben, is with these lineups is you ideally don't want to move them around, right? You ideally want to find consistency in the lineup. With Nola, I kind of like Nola hitting second in the lineup when he's there, right? So I don't know, man. These thank God these are not our decisions right now because Bob Melvin's sweating it out. But when you heard his tone in the postgame today, he didn't seem too concerned. He's like, this offense hasn't hit their stride yet. Maybe they just need to get back to the gas lamp and play around the Friar Faithful to get them going because it just takes a few games to get any offense going, And I just hope they can start hitting home runs. Speaking of home runs, real quick, I know I'm rambling, but with Luke Voigt, people keep complaining he's not hitting them out. Listen, I thought he wasn't great today. But I mean, if they're not going to throw him strikes, I mean, stop complaining about him getting on base all the time. It's
exactly
dumb. It's dumb. I see it way too much. Like the dude's walked, I think, the most times in Major League Baseball. You're going to get mad at him for not hitting pitches a feet out the zone over in the McCovey Cove. Like, come on, everybody.
Yeah. I said this on the pregame show yesterday or the other day. Look, Voigt, you can't complain. He's walking. He's taking his pitches. He had a hit today, right?
No, he was.
It was a line out. It was a line out. They had so many lineouts today. That's what I would. But just back to the point with the offense. Hosmer, Profar, they're playing better than obviously we expected. I expected Hosmer to play like this in April. That's what he does. And what do you think of those fans that try to say that me or that other fans, maybe some have said it to you, that have bashed Hosmer in the past and we're praising him now and they're saying that you can't do that? We're being a Padres fan. We're being loyal. We're being loyal to the team, not to Eric Hosmer. We're being loyal to the team's success, not to any particular player. I'd do the same thing if it was Tatis. I got on Tatis a little bit at the beginning of last year because he was not playing as well as he should have. It's just you got to do what's best for the team's success, not any one player. You can't look at the salaries, right?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, we get on Manny all the time too, everybody, for his slow starts. Like we're Ben made a great point. We're rooting for the team's success, and usually good players, we root for them because they are contributing a lot to the team's success. So if someone like Eric Hosmer is playing well, we had a reason to bash this guy. I mean, he was the worst defensive first baseman in all of baseball after winning Gold Gloves in Kansas City, compounded with the fact that he had zero launch angle, literally zero. He had a negative launch angle one year, which Go figure, mathematicians. So, I mean, the numbers don't lie. But right now, I mean, that at-bat he had today against Dubon, like, was an awesome at-bat. I mean, it was down 1-2 in the count, fouling off pitches, taking those tough sliders. I mean, some of those takes were unbelievable. Like, that's how you know he's comfortable at the plate. And chat, do you guys want the Padres to win? I certainly do. This is why we want him in the lineup right now. So, of course, we've bashed him in the past, and a lot of it was, quite frankly, rightfully so. Right now, Wil Myers is getting bashed because, quite frankly, it's rightfully so. I mean, he's playing awful. Some people don't think he hit good in San Antonio right now. So, I mean, it is what it is, man. You know, any good offense that we can get. Well, how many home runs does this team have, Ben? 4? I think two from Profar, 1 from
Nola, and then Alfaro.
Yeah, I mean, shoot. Go figure, guys. Go figure. Hopefully that comes around. But that's it on Eric Hosmer. I mean, guys, we just want this team to win, like, more than anybody. I mean, all of you guys want this team to win. You know, if I was Nick Wright on Fox Sports 1, I'd be making sure I hedge my bets in the right place. But I'm not. I'm a Padre fan. I like covering the team, but I'm not going to be anti-Nikola Jokic because that's my image now and that's my reputation. No. So.
No, yeah, I agree. Getting here, I wanted to touch on Paddock here. Obviously, he had his comments about UPS and all that. I think I was rooting for him today, playing the Dodgers. But here's how that worked out. Not great. Here's some Paddock. I mean, he struggled early on. There's Justin Turner with 2 RBI single. He gave a couple doubles. I think 1 to Freeman, 1 to Betts. Not a surprise, just leaving fastballs over the middle of the plate. Kershaw, I mean, wow.
Yeah.
He pitched really well. You know, I don't want to get too much into Kershaw because this is Padres, but I mean, I understand where Melvin was coming from with Manaea and Darvish with the no-hitters, but I don't understand with Dave Roberts. I mean, you have him on a 1-year contract and he's 80 pitches in, a perfect game. I think you let him go, but it seemed like Kershaw was fine with it, but he's going to say that to the media. I truly want to know if he was actually fine with it, you know, if
you'll
we had
never
a lie
know.
detector test, you know?
Yeah, you'll never know. I mean, it's early in the season, right? You don't want to push these guys really early in the season. You know the whole cliche. We need them in October, right? We don't need them in April. I mean, we need them, but you don't want to push them. So I get it. But yeah, I mean, Chris Paddock, Preller hit the eject button at the right time here. I think too many people look into like these trade values, like on these websites, like 22 for 10. Oh, just think about it. Like Chris Paddock's having the elbow issues. There's no room for him in this rotation. You can't put him in AAA. His fastball movement has gone down. His changeup isn't as unhittable as it was in 2018, 2019. He did it awesome. It was awesome to get rid of him. Maybe people thought they could have got more than Taylor Rogers. I mean, look what Taylor Rogers has done for this team. They've won this team 2 out of his 4 games, maybe 3 out of the 4 games. So, no, they got rid of him at the right time.
Ken Rosenthal said today in The Athletic, I don't know if you saw this, he said that the Padres preferred Paddock for Rogers straight up, but that the Twins wanted Pagan with it. So if the Padres got their way, they would have still had Pagan here with just Paddock gone, and they still would have had Taylor Rogers. Like, imagine what that would have been. I know.
It also goes to show you that. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I was going to say it also goes to show you that, like, they would do anything to get rid of Paddock. I mean, they threw in Pagan because there was literally no room for him on the roster. There was no room for him on the roster. He wasn't going to be a stretch guy. And I honestly think the same thing could potentially happen to Weathers and Campy. Little combo package, but stay tuned.
Yeah, I just wonder what they'd get back with that.
Yeah.
But
Laureano from Oakland.
Yeah. Okay, so he'd play center, and then he'd play center, and then would Grisham be in right?
Yeah, I mean, you can move Grisham in right, but I mean, you can put Laureano in left. I mean, there's no need to. I mean, I got to see the defense from Trent Grisham. I mean, there's nothing telling me right now that he's the anchor of this center field that he once was. So I mean, that's a whole other discussion for later. But time will tell, man, with this team.
Yeah. All right. Real quick, just get to this Braves Padres series real quick. You know, we got Musgrove tomorrow. I'm excited for that. He goes up against Charlie Morton. That's at 5:10. 6:40 on Friday. MacKenzie Gore against Kyle Wright. Nick Martinez on Saturday against Ian Anderson. That one's on FS1. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. Darvish against Yanoa. What are you expecting out of this series? It's going to be a measuring stick series, better than I think than the Giants, you know?
Yeah, we're gonna sweep them. No, I don't know, man. I don't know. I really have no idea what to tell you, what to expect. If you were to say right now, Ben, would you take a split? I think you'd reluctantly say yes, right?
Yeah.
Do I want 3 out of 4? Yeah. Do I think the likelihood of taking 1 out of 4 is higher than taking 3 out of 4? I don't want to be a pessimist, but a little bit. I think the Braves are the second best team in the National League. I mean, they're loaded. Thank God we don't have to see Max Fried. Charlie Morton is probably their best starter. It's either him or Fried. I know the last guy, Ynoa, has been struggling for the last few years. That's one that you need to get on Sunday night. But I mean, listen, we're a good team too. Like, we should not be taking ourselves lightly. Like, we should be going to battle with these teams, and we should be winning some of these, right? So, I mean, I'm just excited as a fan to see Petco in the environment. I mean, you take a look at some good organizations too, like St. Louis. They're not filling up their stadiums, right? Like Petco, we want this so badly. Like, there's not a better environment right now in baseball than San Diego. I promise you guys that. So it's I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be electric, and the city knows, and the Padres know that there's no environment like it with these ticket prices, man. My goodness. But I mean, people are going to go. They're going to sell it out. I think they're going to sell it this whole series. So good on you. Good on you.
Yeah, it seems like it. They have the most season ticket holders ever. My family has season tickets, so yeah, they're going Friday for Gore and Thursday because all the season ticket holders get opening day. But yeah, it's going to be a good series, and then Cincinnati. Hopefully, if they split with Atlanta, you'd like for them to sweep Cincinnati.
I just don't want to see Hunter Green.
Yeah, do they miss him?
I don't know.
They might miss him.
That guy is nuts. I don't want to see that guy. I don't want to see 101, and I don't want to see 92 with the slider.
He was kind of like Gore. Like it seemed like he took a while to get up.
He did. Yeah, he's man, his stuff is unbelievable.
Yeah, because he was a two-way player, I think, at once, right?
He
and
was,
then the Reds
yeah.
converted him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just getting through the comments. I did see one question real quick before we get out of here.
Sure.
I believe it was on Preller. I think it was something about on the hot seat, I think. Let me see here. I think this one. Is it time for AJ to be placed on the hot seat and stop revering him? Worst $200 million roster in Major League Baseball. Look, I'm sure you'll say this too. I think he should be on the hot seat, but I don't think he is because Peter Seidler loves him. He is committed to him. He continues to say he's committed to him. And he literally, and this pissed me off, he said before the season that they don't feel like they're in, we must win right now mode. Like, okay, then what the heck are we doing here with getting Bob Melvin and bringing in, having Gore up this early and having Abrams up this early and bringing in all these guys and Voit and Manaea. Manaea on a 1-year contract, by the way, a bunch of guys. What's the point in doing that if you're not trying to win right now? So AJ should be on the hot seat.
Yeah, they're not going to get rid of him though, just because of all the resources they put into him, the hundreds of millions of dollars they've spent in his choices in the international signing period. Like from top to bottom, this is Preller's organization. And if this team was rebuilding, then you could argue about making a change. But they're not rebuilding. They're going all in. All chips are at the front of the table. So you stripping down AJ Preller from his duties, you're basically stripping down top to bottom of your organizational ideals, your methodologies, your analytics. You're starting from scratch. You're getting your own farm guys, whoever it is, kind of what Preller did, right? He went all in 2015. He said it didn't work out. I want my own guys. You're going to have to do that again. And then you're scrapping up, Machado, who's in his prime. Hosmer's kind of in the back end. Tatis is going to start entering his prime. Some of these rotation guys. Snell's going to enter his 30s. Manaea's entering. Like, you just can't do it as much as it is. Like, it is what it is, Padres fans, with AJ Preller. And as much as he's been scrutinized, rightfully so, you better hope it happens with him or else it ain't going to happen probably for another 2 decades. So it is what it is. I think it's an entertaining topic of discussion, but I don't think it's one that you should get worked up for because I quite frankly don't think it is smart to get rid of AJ Preller with where the current organization is right now. They just can't. They can't, even though he's probably not the best man for fit.
Yeah, I agree. All right, this has been fun. Episode 148, Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden, Hog. I have pregame shows before every game. Hog has postgame shows after every game. So this duo, we got you guys set. Thank you so much, Hog, for joining.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you so much for having me, Ben. Keep up the great work. You're killing it. You're the man who never sleeps, man. In New York, just grinding and keep living the dream, man, because you're going to do some big things in this world, man. Keep doing it.
Thank you so much. Everyone, have a good night. Stay safe. Go Padres.